gratitude. We're looking at, our topic today is mindfulness in the light of love. And that we do teach mindfulness, to be present and engaged in every moment. And as we're engaged in every moment, that there are things that come in our experience, and someone said to me, well, you know, I've had these bad experiences, and I said, there really is no good or bad experiences, there are just experiences. And when we can place them as experience, this is what I learned. And when we learn, we move to the next octave, the next revelation that allows us to be in the world, but not of it. We're in the world. We're here and we exchange energy, we do our daily rounds, it's just amazing how that works. And when we get it, that we're of a higher vibratory frequency, and that all this is our learning, it's our unfoldment. And once we get it, then we can go into the marketplace with healing, serving, helping hands. Once we get it, we can go into the marketplace with healing, helping, serving hands. So as I share with you this morning, that nothing happens by chance, that we are all here by divine appointment. We heard the call and we answered. And for those that are tuning in, they tuned in at this moment because there's something for them. And when we understand that nothing happens by chance, that every experience is a divine appointment of some sort, what it is we need to know and learn. And when I have reflected on this 40 years of the ministry in deep, deep reflection and looking at the sacred numerology of 4, vibrating to the 4 cardinal directions, vibrating to this energy of the 4 cardinal elements, earth, air, fire, and water, that when we come together in that foundation of 4, there is room to build and to grow and to unfold. A colleague of mine who also travels extensively, and he's a wonderful author, Alan Cohen, talked about when he was at the airport. And you know, airport energy is interesting, isn't it? It is very, very interesting. And he said he was sitting on a van, and he goes, this great African-American guy was at the wheel, and he said, and he was just kind of really great and kind of rugged and had a little stubble on his chin, and he was inviting everybody in, and people just knew that their agenda was the most important agenda, and there was a lot of self-centeredness, and I got to get here, and I got to get there, and I got to get everywhere. And he saw this gentleman, who was the driver of the van, get off. He had reserved 2 seats in front. And there was a beautiful Asian woman who had a splint on her leg, and the little son. So he helped this woman on the van, and he got her all situated in the first seat. And then he went back down, and he put his hands on the shoulders of her little 6-year-old son. And he said, Mama's really going to need you. Mama's really going to need your help. You demand. You help Mama. And he went, and he shook his head, yes, that he would do that. And he said, within all the flurry and all the frenzy of the airport energy, here was this angel in the midst of them that understood that all this frenzy and all the stuff going in with all the self-importance, that the act of human kindness was the most important element, because we are taught that money, fame, and fortune, we seek after all those things. Kindness, as the Dalai Lama said, loving kindness is my religion. That one act of kindness made all the, he says, I had left my mind on the curb. That one act of kindness made all the difference. And he said, I breathed deeply and had a totally different experience because I had borne witness to an angel who cared, who operated out of loving kindness. And when we go about our daily round, and it's a conditioned reflex response. We get up in the morning, we do our thing and get out the door or whatever our agenda is. However, I will say this, that those of us who live in Palm Springs, I think we are so deeply blessed because it's a different energy field here. Much different than when I lived in San Diego for almost 30 years. There's a different energy. And when I round 111, and I'm on the curve. We do a curve thing on 111. A portal opens. A magical portal opens. I drive through and it closes. And I now know that I am in the mystical, magical, miraculous land of the Coachella Valley. And Coachella in the ancient indigenous means, from their tribe, hand of God. I feel it. And I feel that there is a special energy here in Palm Springs. That's why people are drawn to come here. We look unto the mountains from whence cometh our strength. Our strength comes from the One. So our valley will either embrace you and take you in or spit you out. And you're back to LA or wherever you went, right? Because there is a divine appointment in living here and to feeling that energy. And most of us are very appreciative that we do live here. And we make certain compromises to live here as well. And so today, as we gather together to look at the mindfulness and the light of love, that when we shine the love on this energy in our world, and there's a lot of darkness in the world. We do not believe in like dark energies and entities. We believe in thoughts have vibrational frequencies. And so this light penetrates it, right? So when we look at what's going on in the world, in Paris and places that are going, I just send the light of God out. And I thought, isn't it interesting that Pope Francis, made a definite statement about the terrorism on the planet and how we have to take a stand in the truth. Though 1,000 be at my right hand and 10,000 at my left, it shall not come near me. I am in a high place, the psalmist said, and I will not come down. Because in the midst of all the flurry and the frenzy and the energy, one act of kindness right there before my very eyes. Think of how much we miss when we're, in that energy field that we sometimes get caught up in. So as we come together today to acknowledge mindfulness in the light of love, that the love is going to penetrate and lift us through it all. And when we know that, when we really get that, then we don't need to take everything so personally. We just carry that stuff, unfinished business around for us, and somebody, innocently will say something and set us off because we have not handled our unfinished business. And when we handle our unfinished business, we do not become offended by these things. We acknowledge them. And we may not like it. You don't have to like it, but just to see where it's coming from. And that if people knew better, they'd do better. And that's why I keep doing what I'm doing in this field of consciousness. Because I feel that this field of consciousness will heal the world. And when I was early on in my ministry, 40 years ago, I went to a success seminar that Dr. Robert Schuller was holding at the Crystal Cathedral. And I remember they called up one of the greats in the metaphysical movement, Dr. Johnny Coleman, who just made her transition, was in Chicago, Illinois. She was part of Unity. They weren't going to let her stand grounds because she was black, if you can imagine. And all the students said, this is not what we teach. We teach oneness. How could this happen? So that consciousness they broke through by taking a stand in the truth so that Johnny Coleman could become a Unity minister. She became a Unity minister. She went to Chicago, Illinois, and then she decided to go independent and had outgrown Unity. She owned 3 city blocks. She had 10,000 people in her congregation. She made the most amazing difference. And when we outgrow a certain energy field, it's amazing. And Robert Schuller, Dr. Robert Schuller, had her come and speak at this success seminar, the Schuller Institute. And he introduced her, and her theme was a lot of prosperity, because in that day there was a lot going on the planet with material energy. And as he called her up and read her beautiful bio, there were snickers in the audience. of all the standard brand ministers. And now we don't say shame on anybody, but I was stunned. And Dr. Schuler, as he was going out the room and out the door, he turned and said, "Don't snicker. This is the new religion of the new century, of the new millennium. Do not snicker." He got it because he had a new thought message. And believe me, any standard brand minister, fundamentalist ministers that making it on the TV, they have a new thought message. That new thought message is that we are all one, that we embrace as community, and that we move together in that spirit of peace, the peace that Jesus the Christ talked about when he said, "My peace I give to you, my peace I leave with you." And he said, "Not as the world giveth, give I unto you." What do you mean by that? Not as the energy of what goes on a daily basis of the things of this world. Be ye transformed by the renewing of your mind. Mindfulness in the light of love. This commandment I give thee, that ye love one another as I have loved you. He didn't say excluding gays or blacks or whatever. He said, this commandment I give thee, that ye love one another as I have loved you. Love your neighbor as yourself, which absolutely embraces everyone. And that's why I love this way of life. I love that I can be given. And I did vision quests with my shaman teacher, and her name was Kachi. She was the high chiefess of the Pueblo Nation. And we did vision quests, and we went within, and we did this 3-day thing, and then she gave me the sacred gourd, and I love what Emma did with it yesterday, and I had it for 30 years because she said, put something sacred in it, and then paint it. Well, you know, I have a lot of gifts, and I don't feel that I'm really an artist in that sense. Even I live my life as art, but I'm not really an artist in that sense. And so I would look at the gourd, and I had it in a special place. And, you know, have you seen a gourd that's just a gourd? I mean, a gourd is a gourd is a gourd. And, you know, I emptied the contents, and you do a little square thing, and I just kept looking at it. And then I thought, Miguel Prieto, who is an amazing artist, he's got double prosthesis from an accident. He's an amazing artist. I saw, you know, I've seen many of his works, and he sent me little beautiful things that he's done. And he did these rocks, and he painted them, and he put them on Facebook, and they were magical. And I thought, here's my artist. So I meditated, what should I put in the gourd? And I had a little basket of my mother's beads, and I unstrung them, and I put them in the gourd. I actually glued it up. Can you imagine? I still had that little thing that I cut out. I still had it. And I wrote to Miguel on Facebook, and I said, would you paint my gourd? I want this is my 40th anniversary in the ministry. I've had the gourd for 30 years or so, and I would love it if you would just paint it for me. And so he wrote back and said he'd be so honored to do it, and he would meditate over it, and, you know, all of this kind of energy. And I just loved Emma's presentation yesterday, because this gourd is now very, very sacred to me. And this is, you know, the job that he did, and my mother's beads. And I loved what Emma said about, you know, when we rattle, that in my energy, in the 40 years, that, you know, I do rattle cages. That's my job. People get mad at me, you know, I'm going to leave now, go somewhere else and recreate the same thing. And then she says, she's going to shake you up. And I do shake up a few people. I do. I know that. But I don't shake them up unless they're ready to be shaken up. Unless they're ready to go to the next level and get off it. And so he says, well, I always draw the larger circle, and they just did this, that, and the other. He drew a circle that shut me out, but love and I had the wit to win. We drew a circle that took him in. Mindfulness and the light of love. If you think you're drawing the larger circle and you're still pissed off, you aren't. Get it? You aren't. When we draw the larger circle, let it be as though it never was. Let it be as though it never was. so that we greet that person, we greet that Christ consciousness, we greet that Buddha nature, we greet the holy I Am presence, and we let the universe just do what it does in our energy field. And we allow ourselves to go to the next octave, to be in the world, to do what we need to do, to have our livelihood, to realize we're worthy, we're deserving, that the abundance of the universe is there for us. Fear not, little flock. It's the Father's good pleasure to give you the kingdom. Spirit, mind, and body. Spiritually, mentally, emotionally, physically, relationally, financially, it's all there. And the only thing that we're going to take with us is what? Our consciousness. And when I've been with so many that have transitioned, and no one thinks, oh, if I'd only met that board meeting, if I'd only met that other appointment, oh dear, no. They want their loved ones. They want their loved ones with them. When my father was getting ready to go, he was an atheist. He married an El Salvadorian woman. She was like 5 years older than me. She didn't speak English and he didn't speak Spanish, but somehow they communicated. And one time she put sugar in his gas tank because she was mad at him, and that's how she communicated. And he tried to get sympathy from me, but I was not the person to be getting sympathy from. I said, good for her. And like cause and effect, right? Cause and effect. And it was interesting. I was there in the hospital room. And he said, would you do one of those things you do? And I said, you mean a prayer? He goes, yeah. And I did a beautiful prayer and just held him kind of in my arms, knowing that would be our last physical expression together, and let him go. And he was my greatest teacher, to be raised in an alcoholic, abusive home with the battering that went on in our home, and my sister taking her own life. And my daughter said, Mother, I can't even relate to your childhood. And look what you've done. And I said, well, I knew I had a choice. Somewhere along the line, when I found this way of life, I was told, you have a choice. So we have a choice. Choose thee this day whom you will serve. God, life, truth, beauty, or something less than that. I'm about choosing God, life, truth, beauty, abundance, and prosperity. I'm about bearing witness to that van driver in the midst of the frenzy, saying to the little boy, you demand, you take care of Mama. Do you get it? And having that little guy shake his head. He got it. He got it. So today, let's get it. Let's open our hearts and be so mindful of the love in our lives. Because I loved what Basha said. I'm here because I love you. I really love you. And I feel your love coming back. And through this exchange, where are we going? Higher yet. Where are we going? Higher yet. Where are we going? Higher yet. And so it is. God bless you. Higher yet.